We are.
Are we ready in the front? We are. Okay, wonderful. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, April 26, 2023, and we'd like to welcome everyone to the board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 9:07 a.m. You can join today's board meeting via phone. Dial 971-254-3149, conference ID 736-023-979#. Audio capabilities are listen only and are offered on the best effort for the public. Our meeting is also live streamed, and you can join us by going online to tctvonline.com and clicking on live broadcast. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute their phone. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining via computer, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thank you. Public comment. Those intending to provide public comment to the board may attend in person or email submissions to publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us. Public comments received by 12 p.m. on Tuesday will be distributed to the board, posted online before the meeting, and become part of a public record. You may also provide public comment virtually by registering ahead of time. To register, please email publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us by 12 p.m. on the Tuesday prior to the board meeting. Public comments can also be mailed to the Board of Commissioners office, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon, 97141. For more information on public comment options, please visit the Board of Commissioners webpage. Okay, do we have anyone signed up in the room for public comment?
No.
No. How about online?
No.
Okay, no one signed up today. Wonderful. Well, we have called this meeting to order, so we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Bell, would you lead us today?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we do not have any non-agenda items today, so we will go ahead and start with item number 5, discussion and consideration of a professional services agreement with DLR Group Architecture and Engineering, Inc. for the District Attorney's Office remodel design. And we have Rachel Haggerty, Chief of Staff, and Aubrey Olson, District Attorney, with us today.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
This is a contract with DLR Group, who we used when we were designing the State Court Annex a few years back, and we had a great, well, that project didn't come to fruition, we had a great arrangement with them and really appreciated their expertise on that project. So we are able to direct appoint them for these remodel services, given the amount. We're looking at $40,000 plus some reimbursable expenses as they're incurred to help the DA's office with their remodel of their space. It is in dire need. They are woefully undersized in there, and so Aubrey has some good ideas on what she'd like to do. It's really some minor cosmetic upgrades, as well as electrical and low voltage wiring that we'll be doing. We tried to approach this in phases in getting contractors on board, and it just didn't yield any bids, and so we're going for the whole thing. So I'll let Aubrey explain in further details what the scope is.
Thanks, Rachel. So our office is the former jury dorm when this building was built. And
I
so
didn't know that.
that's the history lesson I received from former DA Porter, who is, he should be declared county historian. Anyway, it has undergone several changes over the years and has resulted in an inadequate, probably not OSHA approved space. So what we have is a very long section. We have, I don't know if any of you have seen our office. I should have taken pictures, but I didn't, sorry. Just kind of been swamped trying to keep up with everything. So at the west end of the building, we have one large office space and then the very narrow hall that leads all the way down. We take up the whole span east to west on the south end of the building. There's the one large office that was used, it's traditionally housed 3 or 4 people. I think a long time ago it was kind of outfitted to be the DA's office back before Bill's time. And that didn't come to fruition. And so we've currently, when I took over, I moved our victims assistance advocates, our victim assistance office down into that big space. We have 2 full-time workers. We did have a part-time worker, but we do have a workspace set up for, we do have a volunteer who comes in to help out with grand jury or if there are other people. So we do have them in that space. We have a very small space where our 2 legal assistants sit and share. And that's right outside of where the victim's assistance current office is. There's a weird middle office that does not have adequate ventilation. It's got a strange drop ceiling, and there is apparently a fan up inside of that drop ceiling. I do remember a couple of years ago where somehow I got voted to be the one to hoist up on a desk and like open up one of those to figure out, because we kept turning on this switch on the wall, and we were like, what is that noise? What's happening? And then we looked up there, and there's some sort of fan. I talked to now Judge Hill, who used to work in our office, who said, oh, they're used to, before they put the drop ceiling in, apparently it created, I don't know, I guess they had some environmental study done and there were some problems, and so they just said, close it off, don't use it. I don't know why it's still connected. It's strange, and so when you get new people that come in, they're like, what does this switch do? And it's just not adequate, but that office space is now being used by Christine Arthur, our office manager. It was historically an attorney's office space. The last attorney we had in that space was miserable in there due to the noise level. It's not an adequate attorney office because of where the legal assistants sit. This office is also, if you come into our office from the front door up at the top of the hall, you go through a long hallway filled with files on either side, and then you in that hallway, and you enter into our actual working space, and that particular non-ventilated center office is right there at the end of that hallway. And then you have our legal assistants who sit right there, and it ends up being just a pinch point. Everybody gathers there, everybody talks there, and just the way the acoustics run in that office, it's horrible. And even since we've moved victims assistants in there, they've been complaining about the noise. We've put in a small accordion door to try to help to bounce that noise for their space. But it just it's not adequate. Then you get down to the other spaces as you go down the hall. On the south side of the hallway are several offices. The first one was former DA Porter's office. If you walk into that space, it's got paneling. I think that was originally one of the bathrooms when they were jury dorms. And so that was one of the bathrooms. But there's weird paneling. You can tell where there was the yellowish golden tile that's in other bathrooms in the courthouse. But I think they took that down and they added some sort of paneling. The ceiling looks terrifying. There's 2 different types of ceilings, and there's this weird brace thing. And Bill described having some sort of ceiling collapse that they braced up with that. Don't know what that's about. Kevin Jolly, our facility supervisor, informed us that the ceiling, the roof should be secure. We shouldn't have to worry about that. And that seemed like a janky brace. I'm not really sure about it. And so we want that office space to eventually be for Christine Arthur because it's got a nice window. It's actually ventilated. And it would be adequate for her because she supervises the legal assistants as well as our victims assistants. So that location for all of them to work together is ideal for them. And then just to the, I'm kind of going east as I go down the hallway there. And so the next space that we have is what we lovingly refer to as a kitchen bath. Because there has been a coffee maker, a refrigerator, and a toilet and sink. We did have funeral services for the sink recently because it was clogged. We asked maintenance to come help fix that, and Josh Henderson, who worked very, very hard, did inform us that he, as hard as he tried to put Humpty back together again, it just was impossible. Basically the plumbing crumbled and they weren't able to fix that. So we have decommissioned the sink. No one has used the toilet since DA Porter retired. He was the only one left that used it. My plan was to decommission the toilet and send it off with him as a retirement gift. Everyone is so glad that you don't have to stand at the copier or be in the hallway and actually hear someone use the toilet. So the idea, that space is actually large enough to turn into a small office. And we actually we've gotten the refrigerator out of there at this point, and the coffee maker, and when you actually look at it now, it looks pretty big. It's actually like, oh, someone can actually have a desk and chairs in here. So I do plan on turning that into an actual office space for an attorney. You go down the hall a little bit further, there is a weird door. I think it must have had to do with that separates the hall at that junction, and I think it had to do with jury dorms because they had men and women's. And then the next office space it used to be the stairwell back when they sequestered the jury so that it went straight down into the courthouse. But a long time ago, the court apparently commandeered the stairwell at the bottom, so for bathrooms for jury duty down there. So it got closed off and turned into an office. I have taken that office space. It is very narrow because it used to be a stairwell. The floor is literally crumbling. So constantly kicking little chunks of floor, picking them up and throwing them away. Right there in the doorway too, so it's a trip hazard for anyone who comes in. And then down the hall from there is actually the nicest office in the whole place is Jeremy Dietrich, our chief's office. It's historically been the chief's office. It's the biggest and nicest at the end of the hall, or right before you get to the end of the hall. When you get to the very end of the hall, apparently very historically, when that first became the DA's office, that was the district attorney's office. It had an actual window in it, but when the court commandeered the stairwell for a bathroom and we closed it off, we had to be able to have an exit. And so they busted out the window and put in that, we've got that big metal staircase on the back side, and we now have a door there. Up until July of last year, we used that as kind of an intern/law clerk office plus a DDA1 office space. I worked in that back corner for 3.5 years, and it was horrible. It is not sufficient for an attorney. I couldn't actually meet with people. There's too many people who use the back door as an entrance/exit. And for our office, we talked about closing that off as an entrance/exit, making it just emergency use. But because of the nature of what we do and people we might encounter, we prefer actually having our own entrance. It's more secure. So I just turned that space. I'm working on turning that space into a break room. So we moved the refrigerator into that space, the coffee maker into that space. I now have a table in there. It's much more accommodating for people wanting to enter and exit, and then for our staff to actually get together and have a place where we can sit and talk that doesn't end up being a megaphone into people's workspaces. And so that is, sorry for I know that's long and detailed, but I think it's important to note what our working conditions have been like. So I did want to point out that when we moved victims assistance, we did take over. We kept the 2 offices they were working in to turn those into attorney offices. So those 2 spaces are not considered as part of this remodel. It is only the main DA's office. Those other 2 spaces down the road, we would ask for just maybe some paint. The carpet is turning into a trip hazard as it falls apart, but we'll deal with that another time.
Okay, well,
Yeah, sounds like, as with many things in this 1932 courthouse, they have been ignored for far too long. So I can only say I apologize for the historical conditions that you all have had. We all appreciate a historical building, but not in the ways you've described it and had to use it. So I will just start with that. Commissioners, questions and comments about the project?
That sounds like an awful lot of deferred maintenance, and I agree with Commissioner Scar. I'm sorry that's the condition, and I'm glad we're doing something about it.
I did want to point out, I forgot to mention this part because I just went down the hall and described the way it is now, but the plan for going forward, I did talk about the kitchen bath plan to turn that into an office. Former DA Porter's office will be basically just rehab, that janky brace removed, and whatever repairs need to be done, peeling paint if there are lead concerns, because when Bill moved out there, he took pictures off the wall and there was just like paint peeling all behind it. With this old building, we were concerned about lead and stuff like that, so we did not want to put somebody else in that office. It's being used as storage. in the interim. And, but then the office that I described that's in the middle, that's not ventilated, that's not really an adequate office space. The idea is because what I was told a long time ago is that I think there was a fire on the back side or on the west side of the building. The story I got, I don't know how accurate this is, so take it with a grain of salt, but apparently a DA at one time sat back there, was working late on Friday, back when you could still smoke in the building, dumped his ashtray into the garbage can with some paper, and burned part of that. I don't know how accurate that is, but apparently that inadequate office space was a file room at the time, and a lot of our files were burned. When they redid it, they kicked out the wall, and it does this weird like angle and over thing. And then where our legal assistants sit, they're kind of crammed over into the wall, and we have to do this weird turn to the side and shimmy past their desks to get around that wall. So what we're planning on doing, it also results in like all of our equipment is in the main hallway. And so you can't have two people pass each other. So we're always doing this like, you know, who has the right of way, or we dance, or we turn to the side. It's just not adequate. We want to be like the copier, and which we will still use even though we've gone mostly paperless. We still kind of have to use the scanner copier. But there's just like the stuff that we use. We're wanting to open up the wall to that inadequate office space, to open that up to create better flow, to have a wider space, and to be able to move, you know, the copier and all the stuff that our staff, like the legal assistant staff, uses to do their job, have it actually move into that bigger space with it being more open, to allow them to move more freely and have less obstruction in our actual walking areas.
Just a couple questions. I think these questions are mostly for Rachel. I foresee a problem here when we actually start doing any work on this project, where we're going to place the DAs as this work is being done. Something we're going to have to consider moving forward. Let's just take one at a time.
So Aubrey's office has been working on that.
Okay.
I think you've been doing a bunch of file purging and reorganization and preparing for that. And we were trying to avoid that by going through the phased approach, but that's not working. So we are talking through alternatives. I think some things that we've talked about is they worked pretty successfully remotely during COVID. And so a combination between that as well combined with maybe dedicating one of the downstairs meeting rooms to them, or she was talking about squeezing in with some of the other DA offices. So I think we want to vacate the whole space so the workers can be in there, but we do have some options.
Do it when that happens.
You have anything to add to that?
Just that I agree, we are, one of the biggest concerns that Christine and I have had are all those files. We don't want to have to shuffle a bunch of stuff around, so we're working really hard on purging. We haven't had, with our staffing over the last few years, we haven't had time to go through and actually purge files the way we normally would. I've also changed our retention. I have stuck to the retention rules as described by the law. Bill used to just say he had extra retention rules. He kept files that we don't need to keep for his, and he's allowed to do that, but we don't have the space to permanently retain, so we have a large space in the basement. So that is one of our big things, so that when we have to actually move files, because they'll need to be stored securely, and it'll be a hassle to have to actually move those things out. And then we've actually, over the last couple of years, been slowly working on getting rid of furniture we don't need, getting rid of books we don't need. We have been actually cleaning out the office. Christina and I are anti-hoarding, so we have been slowly just purging our whole office. And so that way when we move, we will be able to move, it should be hopefully fairly seamless. But we do have space. We have with these laptops, with, the main thing is that LEDs for union staff and just the requirements we have to be able to run, because we run LEDs on everybody. So there's certain requirements for that will require our legal assistants to work on site. Or out at the sheriff's office, we did that when this courthouse closed down. We were able to get their conference room and set up shop in there. So the big question really is going to be, how long are we looking at? Because honestly, we actually already have a week off in August where we worked with the court and we're all going to a training. So there's only gonna be the legal assistance anyway and victim assistance, but we have remote opportunities. We're working on a plan to minimize what we have to actually move. So,
Perfect, thank you.
My second question, of course, was, I know this is just the preliminary planning and design stage. So when this work actually gets done, we have it in our budget to actually do the work.
It is in Fund 301.
So you're talking 301? Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay.
Any follow-up questions? I was gonna ask about doing the other two offices, but it sounds like those really need to stay in use at this time, because it seems like it would make sense to paint and carpet and just be done with the DAs, but it sounds like that's probably part of the moving plan, that they need those offices, so we'll just maybe leave that in, you know.
We can do that on the back end, we can roll right into that afterwards if that's something.
It seems like if we're going to have the DA's office done, it would make sense to finish the DA offices that she referred to, particularly given that she referred to the carpet that is failing, and so perhaps rolling that at the end of the project, so then you can roll them into your new space, get their spaces done, and we can check the box of DA offices being complete, so.
I have no objection to that.
I just think it makes sense.
That sounds like an attorney would say that. I have no
Yeah,
objection.
geologist, yeah, right, not an attorney. All right, I think then we are ready for a
Okay.
motion on this item.
Perfect. Madam Chairman, consideration of a professional services agreement with DLR Group Architecture and Engineering, Inc. for the District Attorney's Office remodel design. I would move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, item number 6, which is discussion and consideration of a professional services agreement with Wadd's Funeral Home and Tillamook Crematorium for the removal and transportation of deceased subjects to Chief Medical Examiner Services. And we have Aubrey Olson with us. Good morning again.
Good morning. So we've had a contract with Wadd's Funeral Home for years. They are pretty much the only game in town as far as helping us accomplish our requirements and responsibilities when it comes to unattended deaths and death investigations. And so there have just been a couple of changes. What I understand is this is what's referred to as a cleanup contract, so it dates back to July of 2021. But we have been using them, and I think the only change from previous years is I think there used to be a 30-day notice requirement where Mr. Wadd, he's asked to have that reduced to 15 because he says if something happens to him, he doesn't have anybody that can take over for him, so he would need to be able to shorten that notice with us. Let's see. And he also added, apologize, I had an email up from Christine Arthur and managed to disappear on me.
I can fill in on it. He also wanted to be, for the first time, I think, reimbursed for some of the costs that he incurred. That would sound kind of rough, body bags, I think he calls them something else, but anyway, things like that. But
Actual expenses.
he apparently never requested or asked to get reimbursed for it. I think he does.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Jane, questions or comments, commissioners?
Seems reasonable to me.
Now, previously, again, Wadd's is the only game in town in the entire county. Wadd's has been a great partner of the county for a lot of years, so I have no problem with anything they're asking for.
I would agree, and I think it just created a concern when he said, should something happen, there would be no one else. And we've been having conversations regarding the medical examiner, because the medical examiner's office at the state level is financially struggling, and they are currently the backup to our medical examiner. So I think it just reminds us how these critical systems that we rely on to do the day-to-day work in Tillamook County are somewhat fragile, and we don't have a lot of depth. because we are small and rural, so just, there's nothing to do with that other than to kind of
Right.
take pause, and probably be a little bit even more thankful for WADS and the services that they have managed to continue to provide in our small county.
But at the same time, while trying to do some advanced planning or do the what ifs.
Correct, I think it does put that in all of our court to say, is there a company in a neighboring county that we perhaps need to have some beginning relationship with as just an acknowledgement that in the event that there was such a crisis as Mr. Watt referred to, and he was unable to continue, how we would make sure that was covered, because that would fall back to all of us, so. Never a dull moment, and you never know what you will be thinking about in Commissioner life,
You
so,
just don't.
thank you for that. If there are no more questions or comments, I think we are ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of a professional services agreement with Watts Funeral Home in Tillamook Crematorium for the removal and transport of deceased subjects to Chief Medical Examiner Services, I would move approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Aubrey.
Thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too. Okay, item number 7, discussion and consideration of a non-prevailing wage rate contract for construction with Glasgow Glass Company for the Justice Facility Window Replacement Project. Lieutenant Fernando Silveira, Sheriff's Office.
Do I need to sign it? Sure, if you would.
I don't see him. I do see Under Sheriff Kelly. Under Sheriff Kelly, or Sheriff Brown. Sorry, I see you both now. Either of you carrying this today?
No one wants to carry.
I know everyone wants fresh windows in the jail. I don't doubt that. And this is, we got Sean. Hey, welcome, Sean. Can you help us here?
Good morning, Commissioners. Yeah, this is a contract to replace windows. Sheriff Brown was nice enough to give me a tour a couple weeks ago and show me some of the windows in the cells where it had been kicked out. And so you had this like 2-foot square of window that was covered with tape and saran wrap, it looked like. So this is replacing some of those windows that are in dire need of replacing.
Okay, thank you. Questions or concerns, comments?
Indeed, thank you, Sean, for coming on and covering.
Oh, there's the sheriff.
There's the sheriff. The
Sheriff
sheriff
Brown.
also gave me a tour, and I saw those cracked windows also, so they clearly need to be replaced.
Perfect.
I apologize. I thought Lieutenant Silvera would be on here doing that. I'm not sure where he is. So I don't know the details of the contract, but I can say, as Sean said, one of the windows is cracked from being kicked out. There's a number of them throughout the entire facility from the building settling, where the glass is cracked and broke. And that's what it is. I mean, it is obviously a considerable safety issue when you're talking about our facility. So that's what this is about. And again, I apologize for not being prepared.
No worries, thank you. Lots of things happen to everyone in life, and I think that law enforcement has that in spades. So,
I just consider this ongoing repair and maintenance, so something we need to do.
absolutely. I think we just heard from Aubrey the very significant impacts that come with deferred maintenance when it is not addressed. And this one, as the sheriff pointed out, has a safety factor involved. I think we are ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of a non-prevailing wage rate contract for construction with Glasgow Glass Company for the Justice Facility Window Replacement Project, I would move approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to item number 8, and I know that Linda Hanratty is with us.
Walked out of the office just a bit ago.
She's not, so if it's all right, what I think I'm going to do is we'll hold item number 8 for just a few moments. I think Linda will probably be right back. And we will move on to item number 9, which is discussion and consideration of a 6th amendment to the Oregon Health Authority 2022 Intergovernmental Agreement number 173148 for the financing of community mental health, addiction treatment, recovery and prevention, and problem gambling services. We should have with us Frank Hanna-Williams, Executive Director at Tillamook Family Counseling Center.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Frank.
Frank Aaron Williams, Director of Town of Family Health Improvement. This Sixth Amendment allows for an amount of dollars from the Oregon Health Authority to Family Company to cover for individuals who may come to our attention who, this is what is called the Intoxicated Driver Fund. And this allows for an amount of dollars, it turns out it's about $3,000, which allows for some reimbursement for services that we may provide for individuals who are, where there's been a charge driving under the influence, but the person is not eligible for Medicaid or the person is underinsured. We are being able to draw on that amount of money for the services that are provided to that person. And as the community may well want to know, if there's someone that has a problem driving, we want to make sure that they're, number one, off the road while they are getting some support and services. And this allows for that to be also extended to persons who do not, who aren't eligible for Medicaid or any other reimbursement, and they may be underinsured or not insured at all. So it is. I ask for your approval. Again, it is $3,000, and it is that amount of money would extends from January to June 30th.
Perfect. Thank you, Frank. Appreciate that. Questions or comments, commissioners?
No, I'm supportive.
Okay.
Sounds like a very worthy program.
Okay, excellent. They have funding they would like to help us support those in our community. I'm all for it. I think we're ready for a motion.
Chair, in consideration of a Sixth Amendment to the Oregon Health Authority 2022 Intergovernmental Agreement number 173148 for the financing of community mental health, addiction treatment, recovery and prevention, and problem gambling services, I would move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we will take item number 10, which is also with Frank. Discussion and consideration of a Seventh Amendment to the Oregon Health Authority 2022 Intergovernmental Agreement number 173148 for the financing of community mental health, addiction, treatment, recovery and prevention, and problem gambling services. Frank.
Thank you again. This Seventh Amendment is for to assist us in efforts around building an infrastructure in which we are responding to crisis situations in the community. It's to assist our mobile crisis team intervention, and again, those dollars added on to some other dollars that I came to you before a few months ago, is puts together bolsters our community response. This amount is $110,000. And I ask your approval.
Perfect. Thank you. Questions and comments, Commissioner?
No.
No, Frank, again, I just appreciate everything you do here for the community. This mobile crisis unit is extremely important. When you're looking outside of the city of Tillamook, so thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I agree. Mobile crisis is one of the things that I think I am most commonly asked about in the community when we are talking about services relating to behavioral health and mental health, is just people say, what do we do when we see someone who really is in distress? And so having that mobile crisis available to partner with our law enforcement and also to respond in settings where law enforcement is not the right answer is just, it's just super important. So we appreciate it very much, Frank. I think we're ready.
Yeah, I thank you, and I also want to stress how important our relationship with law enforcement is. And often it is when there is necessary for there to be an intervention in the community, we work closely with law enforcement to make sure that the scene is clear. And so not only is the person who is being seen safer, but also
Gonna call Mr. Weiner. He was just gonna come back.
Continue to appreciate that part.
Yeah, I did. Okay.
Absolutely, thank you, Frank. And I think a lot of people are concerned, well, how can we call law enforcement when we really want mobile crisis mental health, behavioral health? And I think you've just really described the importance of that partnership and why the co-response is so critical. And we really appreciate that our law enforcement are all on board with that as well. You know, we see too many terrible things that happen in communities when law enforcement is not assisted, and it's not their fault. They don't have, in often cases, they don't have the tools, and having the crisis team available to work with them is just so important. So appreciate that.
Madam Chair, ready for a motion?
Yes.
Madam Chair, in consideration of a Seventh Amendment to the Oregon Health Authority 2022 Intergovernmental Agreement, number 173148, for the financing of community mental health, addiction treatment, recovery and prevention, and problem gambling services. Again, I would move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we will take item number 8, discussion and consideration of an order proclaiming May 4th, 2023 as a day of prayer in Tillamook County, Oregon. Linda Hanratty, president of the Tillamook County-wide prayer team. Good morning, Linda.
Good morning. Thank you so much for allowing me the privilege of being here. So I just wanted to say we have been here for 25 years. We've been through many county commissioners, and the county commissioners in this county have been very supportive of National Day of Prayer for a long time. Our focus is to pray for the needs of the county. And we pray for blessings and wisdom for all of you. We pray for you by name. There's a church that prays for you almost every day. We care about you, and we're very grateful for all that you do for us. So we are in the process of putting together a number of different things. We've got One Church, One Day, which prays every day. We do 50 days of prayer, and I think I've given all of you a 50-day of prayer book. We're in the middle of that right now. National Day of Prayer falls right in the middle of that, and we end it with Global Day of Prayer. So our churches are very engaged in praying for our community. We've got about anywhere from 20 to 30 churches involved at any given time. So today I'm coming to you about National Day of Prayer. This is the 72nd National Day of Prayer in our nation. It was established by Harry Truman. It was in 1958, and then by Ronald Reagan, President Ronald Reagan. He made it into law for a National Day of Observance the first Tuesday of May, and it's been done since his presidency. And so it is part of the tradition of this nation to pray for our people and our leadership. So we want to thank you. I think this is our 37th year of doing this, and we have always been blessed by your faithful support. So we would like to meet on May 4th at 12 to 1 on the front lawn around the flagpole of the Tillamook County Courthouse. We need to have a sound system, which we will bring, and anticipate a small crowd of people to pray for our nation. And we always pray for our county as well at the same time. We will need electricity and good weather. For us.
The good weather could be the toughest part.
We will also request permission to put up an awning. Last year, it rained buckets. We nearly drowned, but normally it's just beautiful. So we would put up probably a awning for the speakers and the worship team, and a tent or an awning for the participants. That some of them braved the rain. But anyway, that is my request, and I thank you for your support.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions, comments?
I just want to say thank you for your prayers for us and for the community. Thank you for your long-standing service in our community. Your spiritual guidance and leadership is very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Linda, thank you for being here today. Greatly appreciated. This is the 72nd National Day of Prayer. my 7th. This will be upcoming my 7th that I've been involved with. Again, appreciate everything you do for the county and for the county commissioners, and everything that we do are greatly appreciated. We really are.
Thank you. Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
We are going to be doing another event this fall called Prayer at the Heart. We did a Prayer at the Heart of the state of Oregon last year, and we'll be doing one at the heart of the county, which we're going to probably be using the tent in Garibaldi. And we're asking the churches to do outreach into the community as sort of have a mission. And they'll be doing a variety of outreaches, like to homeless and mental health and whatever it is that each church gets to decide what they want to do. And so I don't know how many churches are going to participate. We never do, but we hope to have a blitz of love and outpouring upon our county.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you so much for this, Linda. And I'm very excited to hear about the Prayers of the Heart. That just sounds amazing. One of the things that I was in a conversation yesterday and was sharing during all of my time at CARE, how important the partners were for our communities of faith. We're just super important partners, because when we talk about what you just did, which is reaching out in the community to those in need, it's just at the heart of our communities of faith. So appreciate that very much.
And we're here for you as well.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
So I'd just like to mention, before we read the proclamation, that if all three of us are conspicuously absent next Thursday at noon, it's because we're scheduled for a budget hearing next Thursday, the 4th at noon. So we will be with you in spirit.
We thank you.
Okay. Commissioner, would you like to read it?
Yeah, read the
Yes,
proclamation.
please.
Thank you. Madam Chair, in the matter of proclaiming May 4, 2023 as a day of prayer in Tillamook County, Oregon, this is resolution number R-23-006. This matter came before the Tillamook County Board of Commissioners on April 26, 2023, at the request of Linda Hanratty, president of the Tillamook County-wide prayer team. The board, being fully apprised of the records and files herein, finds as follows. 1. The National Day of Prayer is a tradition first proclaimed by the Continental Congress in 1775. 2. The National Day of Prayer was established as an annual event by a joint resolution of Congress in 1952 and signed into law by President Truman. The law was amended in 1988 and signed by President Reagan, designating it as the first Thursday in May each year. 3. The Board of County Commissioners is grateful for the ecumenical work of the Tillamook County-wide prayer team in bringing Tillamook County citizens together to pray for our county and its citizens, the state, and the nation on this National Day of Prayer. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the Tillamook County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims Thursday, May 4, 2023, as a day of prayer in Tillamook County, and invites citizens to observe this day in ways appropriate and significant to their personal practices of faith. With that, Madam Prayer, I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Thank
God bless you.
Okay, item number 11, discussion and consideration of a contract for goods with Puffing Machinery, Inc. for a 2019 Ham Asphalt 11T 66-inch drum VW roller. Chris Lady, Director of Public Works.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So this is one of the equipments that is used in paving applications. Behind us is the existing roller that we use when we do our own paving. It's a 1997 roller with 6,000 hours on it. We explored the options for some newer vehicles. A brand new vehicle would be approximately $200,000. We found one for, we went out for 3 competitive bids. We found a 2019 roller for 596 hours on it. For a total of $95,370.50, and that would be delivered in time for our summer bidding season. Next fiscal year, budget year, we have $1.4 million anticipated or budgeted to be put on the ground by county forces. And that roller would be very important for us.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments, commissioners?
I'm just curious, Chris, what is the lifespan of a roller?
Well, I would say we're beyond our lifespan. It's probably 15 years. If you go through depreciation schedules versus what's reality, we have a really great shop mechanics that keep things on the road far beyond their useful life. Again, our oldest vehicle, we have a lot of vehicles that go back to equipment that goes back to the 80s. And I think our oldest vehicle, if I recall right, was 1973, 70. Yeah, so our loader is a 1973 equipment, which is one of our oldest pieces of equipment out there. But the newer vehicles just don't last as long. This is definitely well outside its useful life.
Thank you.
Yeah, you talk about old equipment, Chris, but I think you and I are older than your oldest piece of equipment, so I think that's good, right? Well,
I'm very old.
I may have misspoken there. I'm not so sure about that.
I think the rest of
I think I better move on.
Yeah, move on.
Gee,
So Chris, we're spending $1.46 million next year on asphalt. This county has not spent that much on asphalt in a while. Am I correct there?
Right, $1.4 million is what the county intends to put down. We, to the best of my knowledge, have never put that much asphalt down. We're putting less tons of asphalt down simply because of the cost of oil. But that's the most that I know of that we've put down.
I know you've got a lot of people in Tillamook County very excited about where that $1.4 million worth of asphalt is gonna go. I know you've got plans for it. I don't wanna get involved with that right now, but I thank you very much for everything you do on such a limited budget.
Yeah, and I agree. I think we have pushed our equipment as far as it should go and then some. So I very much appreciate your being thrifty and finding a roller that appears to be about half the price of what it could have been. So thank you for that. I think we are ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, consideration of a contract for goods with Pape Machinery, Inc. for a 2019 Ham Asphalt 11T 66-inch drum. Is that VV roller? VV roller. With that, I would move approval.
Nice second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, we have item number 12, discussion and consideration of an Oregon Watershed Enhancement Grant application, also with Chris Leahy.
Nice ear.
So,
I think I would duck if I were you, Chris.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
that is a Pacific lamprey. These are one of the species of fish that's actually, it's a lamprey, not a fish, that is found in our waters. It's a tribal first food. Everybody knows what a salmon looks like. We actually use, this is one of the species that we use when we go after grant money. It's kind of a Smithsonian education for everybody there. So the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board we're applying for grant money for that to match already secured federal money. So we already have federal money. So this Myrtle Creek is on Kilchis River Road. It's near the farm, the flower farm that's up there. That project is actually contracted. Trout Unlimited has applied through the Salmon Superhighway program. Trout Unlimited is actually the project manager for Salmon Superhighway. They have secured funds at the federal level from two different pots of funds from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, two different funding programs, and also ODFW, our state, two different funding programs, and there is NOAA money that's also associated with this. Total cost of the project is $1.2 million. We have some flexibility with our money associated with NOAA. But using the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board, $640,555 to replace a 66-inch culvert with a 42-foot bridge. Permission to apply for the grant.
Questions or concerns, Commissioners?
Well, I'm hopeful for us that we can get that grant. I'm certainly supportive of applying for it, and I understand the importance of replacing culverts with bridges for fish passage, so I think it's great work.
Chris, I particularly am excited about your continued involvement with Salmon Superhighway. I think we're both on the executive steering team for Salmon Superhighway, doing terrific work in Tillamook County. This county would not be our roads would not be surviving without all the monies that we receive, not only from the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board, but through Salmon Superhighway, which really does keep our culverts especially from collapsing completely. So, Chris, I appreciate your work on this, and I am in full support.
As am I. I think recently when we were talking, there are something like 4,000 culverts in Tillamook County, if I'm not mistaken, that we are responsible for. And you know, as we know, that fish passage is just crucial. Every time we get an opportunity to switch one of those culverts out with a bridge, we do our very best to take it. And I appreciate you finding the funding to make that possible. So I absolutely am in support of a grant application. Ready for a motion?
Madam Chair. In consideration of the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Grant application for Public Works, I would move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, and we'll call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, and then we have a whole bunch of these with Chris. So we're going to start with the first one. A discussion and consideration of a donation temporary easement with the State of Oregon Department of Transportation for stream turbidity monitoring on property located at Township 2 North, Range 9 West, Section 18, Tillamook County, Oregon. Chris.
So December 2015, that storm event had,
I know it's a
what-
day that will
what's
not
behind
end.
me is, what's behind me is Dry Creek. This is on Miami Foley. So 3 projects, culvert to bridge, culvert washouts. This becomes important as we start working through the Salmon Superhighway, and the fact that our culverts are not adequate to support the drainage, the amount of water that flows off these hills. So the Salmon Superhighway money helps to subsidize that for fish passage, but that also allows water to flow through. So it's serving a dual purpose. The Dick Creek, Dry Creek, and Crystal Creek are 3 bridges that are moving through the motion. They're almost done with the design, being managed by by ODOT using federal highway money. All 3 of those bridges are scheduled for construction in 2024. Crystal and Dry Creek are on the Miami Foley, and Dick Creek is on Bay Ocean Drive. Bay Ocean. Crystal Creek, which is the subject matter for this, it's on milepost 8.8. That replaces a 60-inch failed culvert with a 50-foot bridge. The county owns adjacent property to that. So part of the requirements, depends on the funding mechanism, the funding pot, is to do stream turbidity. So how much silt is in the water causing it to be cloudy. One of the funding requirements for that was a 3-year annual assessment on turbidity. Because we own the property on which that monitoring will occur, we would donate the easement instead of getting $500 from the state for that use. We're proposing to donate the temporary easement on county property outside the right of way for the Crystal Creek project.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments, Commissioners?
I'm fully supportive. I'm glad we're still moving forward with this 2015 repair project.
And I would agree. So there is not a name on this, but there is a map number, and that does correspond to our item number 13. So I am good with this also.
Okay, I agree. Again, I can't believe that 2015 is the storm that will never end in terms of the repairs that are needed. So I'm pleased that we're moving forward. I hope that we are getting to the end of the list with any luck before another storm hits of similar magnitude. So I think we are ready for a motion.
And matter of fact, I do want to point out, there is a note on this temporary easement paperwork. It says we must wait to sign, we need to sign in front of a notary.
Okay.
So this will be unsigned at this point. Madam Chair, in consideration of a donation temporary easement with the State of Oregon Department of Transportation for stream turbidity monitoring on property located at Township 2 North, Range 9 West, Section 18, Tillamook County, I would move approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 14, discussion and consideration of a temporary construction easement with Gary J. Cuppy and Lee A. Cuppy for the Salmon Creek Bridge construction project for property located at Township 1 South, Range 8 West, Section 27, Tax Lot 502, Tillamook County, Oregon. Chris?
So if it pleases the board, I would like Jasper Lind, who is one of our engineering technicians, to discuss items 14 through 19 as they're specific to the Samson Creek project, which is a salmon superhighway, replacing a undersized culvert with a bridge. He would discuss items 14 through 19 in totality and then answer any questions pertaining to such. Is that acceptable?
That would be great, thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Jasper, welcome.
Good morning, Commissioner. Thank you for having me. So we are, as Chris has mentioned, we're working on Samson Creek. It crosses the Cass River Road at just shy of the 9-mile point, about 1.5 miles up from the peninsula. We're working in partnership with Salmon Superhighway. Yes. They've been doing a phenomenal job organizing it. It has the potential of opening up another 1.5 miles of farm territory up that stream. In fact, I thought I would share with you a little bit of visual. This is what Samson Creek looks like during our storm season. So this is last January. It's a decent flowing stream. When it gets going, it gets going a little fast. The current culvert that is failing is it funnels it down through this head wall, which significantly accelerates the water. And the outfall is a perched outlet. So when we have lower water, we have a higher perched outlet. And unfortunately, these older metal culverts, as the material migrates through, it bangs up and rusts away the bottom of the culvert, which ends up undermining the culvert and becomes one of the risks to failure to the road at these crossings. That's downstream, and I added another photo from Peterson in what these culverts look like when they start failing out. You end up getting essentially a serrated, rusted surface, and that's what allows that water to drop underneath the culvert and start undermining the road itself. So this is what we're hoping to prevent by removing these culverts and installing a new bridge to crossover, allowing for free flow of the salmon as well as getting our infrastructure a little bit more resilient at these crossings. This is a map of the various landowners and the various easements and right-of-way acquisitions that we have as part of the project. So we had 7 landowners that we reached out to, and we heard back from 6 out of 7. Fortunately, the one group that we did not hear from was the Bedford. And as you can see from this bypass, it actually does not land on the property. We were just hoping for a little bit of wiggle room. Not having that is unfortunate, but it shouldn't impact the project in any negative way. So a number of easements that you have in front of you, you should have 6 that are temporary construction easements. That's just to cover the 2-lane bypass that will be in place to keep Cass River Road open during construction, as well as any of the adaptations necessary to avoid into existing driveways. And it also includes a section that is going to be used for habitat restoration. A great deal of the funding driving is habitat restoration to extend to non-wet. There are 4 permanent easements that are contained within this bundle. There are 3 right-of-way acquisitions, one from the Erickson, one from the Scott family, and one from the Kodiak family. We went for a right-of-way acquisition with the farmers. Unfortunately, due to the mortgage on the property, it would have required us going through Wells Fargo's legal team that right-of-way acquisition, and they were kind enough to offer a permanent access easement instead, which was fine by the bank and allowed us to move forward. That's the reason for the one unique, the right-of-way, one piece that is a right-of-way acquisition, that is an access easement. That will still form the same function of getting us underneath that bridge for inspection and figuring out any issues clear for the curve from that. And if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to speak to anything you'd like to know.
Great, thank you, Jasper, appreciate that. Questions and comments, Commissioner?
Looks like a good project, and it's interesting. Thank you for walking us through the easement process. It's interesting to think about all of the steps that go into something like this, and all of the people who have to cooperate. So I'm grateful to all these folks who are granting us easements.
Perfect. Jasper, one question. So this is a single project, and these are the 6 property owners that are abutting this project. So one project, but 6 temporary construction easements for this one project, correct?
That's correct, and we couldn't do it without all of them. So the Bedfords are the odd one of the bunch in that we were just looking for wiggle room, but every other one of these landowners is vital to this project.
Perfect, thank you so much. I just want to give a little bit of background on Southland Superhighway. You've heard that term again. In the past, Tillamook County has done so well with our watershed councils and TEP and Public Works, Soil and Water Conservation. OWEB has been involved in helping us eliminate these problems with culverts, which now oftentimes take the bridge. Southland Superhighway came in several years ago and looked at the process, and they were wondering, gee, if the federal government puts some money in these types of habitat restoration projects, I wonder if we could improve and speed up the process of improving habitat. They looked all up and down the Oregon coast and determined that Tillamook County was the leader in what we do in habitat restoration. And so they came to Tillamook County and as Salmon Superhighway through Trout Unlimited. And this process over the past few years has been tremendous. It really has. We've been able to improve our habitat and waterways for many of the anadromous fish that we have. So this is terrific. And now Salmon Superhighway is, because of the success in Tillamook County, they're actually looking to expand the program. And I believe they're going to Coos County next. But it's my understanding they're also going to remain in Tillamook County, which is perfect. We really do need the help. So again, this is just a great process, and Chris and Jasper appreciate very much all of your work on this, because this is really helping Tillamook County out in so many ways. And you see Chris has his hand.
Perfect, yeah, Chris.
So that project, the Salmon Superhighways, prevent the failure of Dry Creek, Crystal Creek, Dick Creek from 2015. Since Salmon Superhighway has been very active, I'm 100% positive that we would have already blown out a couple of culverts in a similar fashion to the 2015 event. This summer, Sampson Creek and Green Creek are scheduled for replacement. Green Creek is on Trask River Road by SC Paving. So they're intended to stop the failure mechanisms that you see behind me.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and this is great, and obviously a lot of work to walk through the 7 properties, 6 of which came to fruition, and get the right type of easement with each of them, so we appreciate that. So I think we can simply move through these, we need to take them one at a time, but I think we will not need to hear from Jasper and Chris in between them unless there are any remaining questions that pop up for the language you read or hear.
Perfect.
Okay.
Item number 14, consideration of a temporary construction easement with Gary J. Cuppy and Leigh A. Cuppy for the Sampson Creek Bridge construction project for property located at Township 1 South, Range 8 West, Section 27, Tax Lot 502, Tillamook County, Oregon. I would move approval.
A second. A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Madam Chair, number 15, consideration of a temporary construction easement with Susan A. Holman, trustee for the Susan Elizabeth Holman Revocable Living Trust for the Sampson Creek Bridge Construction Project on property located at Township 1 South, Range 8 West, Section 27, Tax Lot 200, Tillamook County, Oregon. I would again move approval.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Madam Chair, number 16, in consideration of a temporary construction easement and a permanent access easement for the Sampson Creek Bridge Construction Project with Jeffrey D. Farmer and Rhea J. Farmer for property located at Township 1 South, Range 8 West, Section 27, Tax Lot 500, Tillamook County, Oregon. I would move approval.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Madam Chair, number 17, in consideration of a temporary construction easement for a permanent right-of-way easement for the Sampson Creek Bridge Construction Project with Douglas J. Kujak and Elizabeth Kujak for property located at Township 1 South, Range 8 West, Section 27, Tax Lot 507, Tillamook County, Oregon. I would move approval.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Madam Chair, number 18, in consideration of a temporary construction easement and a permanent right-of-way easement for Sampson Creek Bridge Construction Project with Mac James Erickson and Shauna Louise Dodge Erickson for property located at Township 1 South, Range 8 West, Section 27, Tax Lot 201, Tillamook County, Oregon. I would move approval.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Madam Chair, number 19, in consideration of a temporary construction easement and a permanent right-of-way easement for the Sampson Creek Bridge Construction Project with Donald G. Stout and Ardath A. Stout, trustees for the Donald G. and Ardath A. Stout Revocable Living Trust, dated November 18, 1999, and any amendments for property located at Township 1 South, Range 8 West, Section 26, Tax Lot 400, Tillamook County, Oregon. Again, I would move approval.
I second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we have item number 20, and I'm actually going to take just a very brief recess prior to this because this will serve as a hearing where we will hear from the folks who are in the room. And given our length of our meeting already this morning, I'm going to take just a quick 5-minute recess. We will reconvene at 10:20. Thank you.